This is Western Mass News on Fox 6.
Good Thursday evening, everyone. Welcome to Western Mass News at 10. I'm Chris Pisano. Two highly anticipated school committee meetings tonight. The Amherst-Pelham School Committee voting in a temporary superintendent. And over in Easthampton, the City Council and the school committee heard from candidates about their two vacant school committee positions. Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson now joins us live in studio with more from these two meetings. Maria.
Chris, there is a new acting superintendent in Amherst. The Amherst-Pelham Regional School Committee appointing the district's finance director, Douglas Slaughter, to fill in for Superintendent Dr. Michael Morris, who stepped down last Friday due to health reasons. Allegations of LGBTQ+ discrimination and a Title IX investigation loomed over the discussion on how the district will heal and move forward. During their previous meeting earlier this week, the school committee created a list of 8 candidates they wanted to consider for the role. Only 3 accepted to be considered. Those finalists were Doug Slaughter, Trevor Baptiste, and Susan Hollins. Many of those who spoke out during the public comment urged the committee to consider external candidates, specifically Susan Hollins, and others expressed concerns on how quickly the process is moving.
How on earth can we choose a superintendent, even if it's just for 5 days, whom we have not met?
While some of the school committee members argued it would be best to select somebody who's already familiar with the district. Overall, school committee members say naming an acting superintendent is vital.
When it comes to the sense of urgency that we have right now, I'll tell you flat out, it's dangerous to not have a superintendent in place.
Another committee looking to heal through action, the school committee and city council in Easthampton heard from candidates seeking to fill their 2 vacant school committee positions. One of their first items of business as interim school committee members would be to help in the search for the district's interim superintendent.
I want to do my part in helping our students succeed. It's no secret that there have been some struggles lately, and I believe we can get past this and favorably move forward. I'm willing to work together and show everyone the respect they deserve.
And candidates answered questions about rebuilding trust within the Easthampton community.
How do you gain the trust of a divided community?
I think you gain the trust of a divided community through, and I mean personally, but of course as a body, but I mean for me, radical transparency, explaining one's thought process, simple and direct language, an assumption, reaching out in empathy.
The Easthampton Joint Committee did not select school committee members tonight. That is set to happen during their May 31st meeting. Reporting live in studio, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.